Hey guys, Texas Slim here. Merry Christmas, Merry late Christmas. I am here today in my shop. You guys have seen it. You know what? This is where I actually got injured. That's a story on down the road. But what we do is we have a fascinating recording happening today. And I believe you guys can probably see Shawn Johnson. She's sitting up there and she's all smiling and being very powerful today as she basically walks this earth in a very powerful way. So this is a perfect, basically the best scenario I could have asked for at the beginning of this year. Nobody knew where we were going. We knew we were going to do the beef initiative. We had tons of food intelligence and we had a lot of ranchers coming on board. Shawn came on board at a certain time where we were getting a lot of attention. And she was very professional. And what she has brought to the beef initiative has been fascinating. She has a lot of proof of work. She's a nutritional expert to the likes I've never seen before. And what we wanted to do is our collaboration has grown very fast. The collaboration within the beef initiative, the collaboration basically in nutrition is about to be something that I think a lot of people that are in this space are not prepared for. And that's what's exciting about it. So I'm going to say, hello, Shawn. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. How are you doing, Slim?
Well, I'm doing really well because I feel very comfortable today because I know if I get something wrong during this podcast, you're going to be able to correct me because I'm freewheeling it as I usually do. You keep me somewhat scripted as far as our tunnel vision that we're locking into for this next year. We've been doing some great communications with the ranchers, and I've been really signaling to everybody that the beef initiative is really being led by the great American rancher, and we're turning it over to the producers. But one thing that is going to allow us to do, you and I as a team, is very, the focus on nutrition, focus on health, is that we will, in hand, be working with the producers as far as letting them do what they do, giving them the voice, letting the world know that they are leading this nutritional effort, which is, I always call it the Great American Health Initiative being led by the Great American Rancher. So that is what is exciting to me because this is how it all started. It started with regaining health through pure food, pure nutrition. So you basically bring something to the table that has always been missing. I'm kind of a layman when it comes to nutrition, but you've been doing this for a very long time. So I want to introduce you as somebody that came to the Beef Initiative, a volunteer that stepped up and said, I'm ready to lead from the front. So kind of give a little quick outline of who you are, where you come from, and what you see us moving forward with this next year within the Beef Initiative.
Well, my name's Shawn Johnson. I own a health and wellness practice in the Austin area. And, I saw a quote the other day on Twitter and I totally forget the attribution. So forgive me if this is you and I'm not giving you credit immediately, but it was something along the lines of, you can't care about food and not understand or care about food production, right? Food is my tool. It's what I use to help people reclaim their health, food and exercise. And so this collaboration just made sense. I'm very concerned about the future of our food supply. I'm very concerned about how ambiguous the information, the labeling is out there for the average person who's struggling. And we've said this before, and we'll say it again, that's about 88% of the population right now. So that's why I'm here. But why I'm here today is not to talk about me.
No.
It's to talk about you. It's to talk about the Beef Initiative. It's to talk about where this thing was at the beginning of the year for you, Slim, and for the team, and lead us all the way up to rancher owned and rancher operated.
Perfect. Now that we got that out of the way, well, sitting here last year, it was something that we were doing on the social media. We were basically, everything was being led by, the awareness, like you just talked about, being concerned about food production. That's where it started with me on the multinational level, seeing how corrupt it is, how disjointed it is, how centralized it is, and the lack of control that we as consumer have, the lack of market access. And so at this time last year, I was reflecting very deeply into, my ancestors and where I came from. And I knew in my heart that this country, really the world in general, that they needed to get back to the source of the seed of basically understanding food. And one big part of that was the food production. And the best animal on the planet, and you and I have talked about this since the beginning of mankind, really, ancient civilizations, we have worshiped the cow. And so that has deep meaning to it, to me especially, but to a lot of people. If you can open up that portal of understanding, they look at the cow a different way. They start looking at food a different way. They start looking at food production a different way. I knew that we had to create an initiative. But from day one, the Beef Initiative has always been about getting back to the nutritional strength in which I was raised with and by, and giving that credit to my ancestors and the ancestors that came before that, because we're losing so much food intelligence, I mean, yearly now. And people do not understand that you cannot compare food now to even 10 years ago. And what we have to do is we have to take that step back. The Beef Initiative is that tool to basically lead that understanding and that awareness. And there's no better person to lead that than the great American rancher. It's always been the case in our history, especially me coming from Texas. Texas fed a nation at one point in time. Texas strength was first with the cow, then maybe the oil, and then, one of the largest economies in the world. The one thing that was the foundation of Texas as a state, as a country, as a republic, as a lot of people like to, refer it to, which it is, was based on the cow. And diving down into that lifestyle is a fascinating journey. So I said, hey, let's I told everybody last December, I said, this is an international lifestyle that people don't really understand. They kind of get it because you look at us right now as a country, the number one TV show is Yellowstone. Well, that's about a rancher trying to save his ranch, and they reflect on history. They have 1883 out there, 1923. They have Yellowstone. They have a sequence of events that got it to the modern day rancher. That's what we're doing within the Beef Initiative, and we're letting the rancher tell their story. We have first generational ranchers from Jason Rick all the way into Cole Bolton, his fourth generational rancher. You have Holy Cow, and in Weldon, they're kind of first, but they're leveraged back into the past of Weldon's grandparents as far as ranching. You have Justin Trammell. His whole family came from Wales, England. They were farmers back then. They've always been farmers or ranchers. Every rancher has a story, but the one thing that they do, they steward the land, the cow, and they provide the best nutrition that this world can find at this point in time. And that started with me in Texas, but of course it's all across the nation and it's all across the world. And what we're doing is we're creating that communication structure, that awareness, that understanding, and that market access back into that history, the heritage, and that nutrition that we know is so important right now that we've lost.
And you've done that with these micro summits, and I'd love for you to talk about some of these micro summits that we've had throughout the past year, and also establishing the fairly recent Cattleman's Feast.
Mm-hmm.
Love for you to talk a little bit about that as well, and then we'll get to the foundation, which is essential to everything that you're talking about here.
Yeah. The micro summits, I think, I don't know, it was kind of a dare. I always dare myself to do things, and I kind of laugh under my breath about it. And I was talking to Jason Rick over there in Colorado, and I like to challenge everybody, and it's kind of a cowboy thing you do, is like you dare somebody to go and piss on a hot wire fence. Well, I dared Jason to have a little micro summit. And so what we did, we were in a conversation, and I said, well, hell, I want to have 4 of these this next year, because Bitcoin conferences were going big. Everybody's got this conference, that conference. efforts, I said, I want to create an event that is actually a call to action. It's based on lifestyle, not just go and have a bunch of selfies, not to do this, but there's a sequence of events that happens during this experience. And they're not going to be big, but they're going to be destination spots that people have to go out of their way to get to. And so at first we scheduled 4 of them. There was one in Kerrville, Texas, one in Crawford, Colorado out there at Jason's place, one at White Oak Pastures with Will Harris. And then, of course, the last one, and we added one at the end of the year. The last one was Luling, the Cattleman's Kill It and Grill It, the Cattleman's Feast. And then, of course, we had we had the Tennessee Micro Summit. And so I dared Jason to have one of these on his place. And he said, well, hell yeah, let's do it. And I said, okay, well, let's get busy. And so I got our team of volunteers, which I love all of our volunteers. They really did a tremendous job this year. They said, you can't do this. And I remember I drove to Dallas, and it was probably in January of last year. And I told everybody what we were going to do. I sat in a boardroom in Dallas with some volunteers. I was putting a team together. It was me. I didn't have anybody. And I said, this is what we're going to do. Well, about 2 of those people in there are basically still volunteers. Everybody else went away. They didn't think that we could handle it. So I put my head to the grindstone, as which I do, and we started planning micro summits. We didn't know what they were going to be going into them, but I know that they needed to be educational, and they needed to be a form of shaking each other's hands and having conversation. And so each one of these micro summits has had their own curriculum, their own meaning behind it. It's been demographic, geographical. There's always something special about each one of these. And there's been a few people across the nation that has been to almost every one of these summits. Jason Rick of Rick Ranches, he made it to every function except the Kill It and Grill It down in Luling, but he did make it to Tennessee. So he attended 4 of these, and he even hosted one of them. What you found with these micro summits is that you have ranchers and you have consumers that dearly want to know each other, but they can't find each other. We live in a centralized way to where the communication structures are not allowing these people to meet. And so I find that basically these summits, these micro summits, was about building relationships and creating these nodes across the country to where basically, we have headquarters in Tennessee now. We have headquarters in Texas. We have headquarters in Colorado, to where we can bring people together and they can kind of be a center point to where people can go into a lifestyle change. We've had doctors that came and spoke, functional medicine doctors. We've had ranchers, of course. We've had people from finance, Bitcoin, homeschooling, from crowd health. We've had all kinds of different people that have sponsored and came into these events, where a lot of times people leave one of these micro summits, is what we call it now. Their life has changed. They go back home and now they have a different lifestyle that they're going to start pursuing, and it starts with the education of the cow, basically, in the great American rancher, and what nutrition is and how it's been stolen from us as a society through our global industrial food complex, which is multinational corporations that do not give the great American rancher a voice, as he had whenever I was growing up in the history of the state of Texas.
Is it fair to say that you spent the year kind of experimenting and innovating in order to essentially stumble into this foundation, which is now quite strong, that you are handing over to the ranchers?
Yeah, I think I put a tweet out a couple of weeks ago, and I was sitting at the gym, and a lot of times when I'm at the gym is when I tweet, because I get the old adrenaline running, right? And it's kind of a fun time. You get some clarity going in your mind. And I said, man, to answer your question, I answered it to myself. I said, this year was about reconnaissance. Let's get into that form of investigation, of intelligence. What do? You have to go perform reconnaissance. I was a project manager. You have to go do discovery. You have to define. This year was basically looking at a nation, looking at a culture and a society of the people that are hurting, that has got a form of destruction that a lot of people don't see right now because they haven't been out through the back roads of this country. And so, yeah, 2022 was discovery, reconnaissance, surveying the land, the people, what we're up against. You know, the amazing thing, the amount of food deserts that I found across this country is staggering. Most people don't know it. They don't understand what a food desert is. So I had to go do that discovery of where are we? How can we move forward in a very powerful way within the beef initiative with that type of intelligence that I performed this year? I don't know how. 60, 70,000 total miles this year across this nation in my pickup truck. And, you know, the amount of states, the amount of people, the amount of ranchers, the amount of gates that we opened up this year doing that discovery is going to allow us to open up 1,000 more gates this next year.
Yeah, you talk about a lot about, that's a lot of abouts I just said right there in that moment. Let's drink some water.
There we go.
Market access.
Mm-hmm.
You've popularized the mantra "shake a rancher's hand." That was Slim. You see that floating around on the interwebs. That's Slim. That's where that came from. And what I've found, Slim, is that there's a lot of folks out there that they're not lazy. They're, you know, productive members of society. They're working hard. They're supporting families. They're raising children. And some of these folks are 2 hours away from the nearest ranch. And they're really interested in what we're doing. They understand the value and the importance of vetting your food production, but their frustration lied in they're 2 hours away from a ranch and they're handling all the other aspects that are equally important to being a human, a productive human. So I'm really excited about the fact that moving into 2023, the Beef Initiative has some really exciting news about these shipping costs. I mean, you literally slashed them in half.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting for the majority of the country.
Well, yeah, for 48 states. And it, you know, it goes back to that market access that you brought up. A lot of people don't really understand what that truly means. Market access is like you and I having zero friction if we want to make a deal with each other, right? Nobody's in the way. Nobody's, you know, saying you can or you can't. It's not a check and balance system. Me and you say, we're going to exchange this. We're going to trade with each other. We've created a market access that is decentralized. Nobody can tell us yes or no. And we're going to say, we're going to do it because I trust you and I respect you. Well, we've lost market access to our pure animal protein in this country. 80% of it is controlled by those multinational corporations. So we have been basically deprived of market access to clean, pure food that we, the family, the hardworking family, want access to. And so working with, especially Justin and Cole, because they both opened up processing centers this year, okay? And what that means is that now from the soil to the grass to the cow to the rancher, through the processing center to your fork, we now have created market access for everybody across this nation. And in the beginning, we didn't have access to these processing centers. We still had access to the best beef, but now we control product design. We control shipping costs because our volumes have gone up. Now we've eliminated so many middlemen that our shipping costs, just like you said, are probably going to be cut in half for a lot of people. Sometimes it'll be a third, but the majority of the United States now will be able to compete with the big dogs that get that subsidized shipping value, like the Amazons, the Butcher Boxes, all those big corporations. Well, they can hide their shipping costs. We choose to be transparent and say, this is exactly what you're getting. This is why you're paying for it. But now we get to say, we get to go toe to toe with them, and we don't hide shipping costs. We get to say, this is the best beef on the planet. And you have market access. And the one thing that held that back for a lot of people was because the shipping was so expensive.
Well, I think what people appreciate about you, Slim, is that you have had this unique opportunity to travel the country, like you just said. And, you know, if they can't personally shake a rancher's hand, They trust that you've kind of taken the baton and you acted as that soldier and you did the dirty work that they're not capable of doing for whatever reasons. And they can trust that you've vetted those ranchers. Anybody who sells through the beef initiative, Slim has shook their hand. He has a personal relationship with them. He eats dinner with them. You know, he knows their family. And that's special.
It's extremely special. For me personally, I can never have asked for the amount of quality people that I've met this year by going out and shaking ranchers' hands, the amount of people that have taken me into their households, into their family units. And I want everybody to know that this is available to every American out there. You can develop these relationships. That is one of the strongest value adds you can give to your family, give to your children, that market access to this lifestyle of relationship building with the people that are live and die to feed you. And, you know, you brought up the foundation, and this is what people need to understand. You know, the great American rancher usually just has one revenue stream. Let's look at Jason Rick, first generational. All he does is sell beef. That's all he has. But from the very beginning, he always told me, I'm an educator first. That's what I love to do. I love to educate. Cole Bolton, the same thing. Justin Trammell, same thing. Annan Weldon Warren. Scott with Sacred Farms. Peter with Macedon. All of them. You know, I can't list all the ranchers, but those are the ones that are key right now. Every one of them is an educator. Everybody wants to have more empowerment by being that regenerative farmer and rancher. Well, I guess it was, I don't know, once Jason told me that what he was and his passion was the educator part of it, same with Cole. He goes, I don't sell anything. What I do is educate. I knew that we had to create something. We had to create another pillar of strength for the rancher. We had to let them be the educators. Well, how do we do that? We create a foundation that's a nonprofit, right? To where everybody contribute, not like you said before, most people are in the city. They can't go out there and shake a rancher's hand. Well, if you can't do it in person, we're going to allow you to do it digitally. We live in a digital world. So what we've done is created the iamtexasslim Foundation. What it is, it's a trust foundation that allots grants to the ranchers who want to be educators. And we give them a grant each year, and they receive that grant. They are able to educate. They're able to design a curriculum, an educational platform to where they basically open their gate up. They open up their educational layer that they're, you know, yearning to be able to do. And like with Jason, he's the first recipient of the iamtexasslim Foundational Trust Grant. What he's going to do, he's going to open up his gate. He's going to create internships, apprenticeships, and people are going to come to his ranch and he's going to educate. Well, those people are either going to want to be regenerative farming and ranching, or maybe they just want to have their kids out there and learn what it is to be close to the soil and to the animals. It's up to Jason to make that decision. It's not some institutional academic, you know, apparatus that has gotten us here that says that they are the only educators out there when it comes to food, when it comes to land, and when it comes to the animals and the lifestyle itself. You get to go to the ranch. The gates are going to start opening to all these ranches across the United States because they are going to educate in a way that a lot of people don't see coming. It's experiential education. It's hands-on. It's observational science. It's having a relationship with the person that's educating you. You get to create a roadmap. You might say, well, this is not for me, but now I know where I'll always buy my food. It's up to the individual, and it's up to the individual to give to this foundation. And that's what we're going to really be doing. This, I'll be harping from the top of the mountaintop all year long about this foundation. This is key to me. This is a legacy thing. We're going to create a legacy educational system for this great American rancher, and nobody's going to be able to take it away from us. It's decentralized. It's something that we've done on our own. We don't have to ask for permission, and everybody can give to it. And I believe a lot of more people are going to start funneling in once they see the value of what we're actually proposing, but now what Jason is really moving forward with. We have 5 ranchers now that want the grant. They are asking, can we be on the list for this grant? We have so many ideas. We have so many things we want to bring people to our ranch and to the understanding of why we do what we do. So it's up to the general public, and that's what you and I will work very hard this year, is getting that awareness, spread it, we'll build out locally and broadcast globally. That's what, one of my jobs this year is, that's priority number 1 for me.
Absolutely. I'm really excited about that. I'm also really excited about the transparency. We're going to document the journey. We're really going to showcase and highlight what Jason is doing on his ranch. It's really unprecedented. And I couldn't be more honored to be a part of this journey. We finalized a lot of the paperwork this past week. So
yeah, we did.
I'm
just to
eager.
say that we have the legal team. We have a fantastic legal Chambliss Law out of Tennessee. We have a long-standing relationship with them. They've helped us. They've worked a little pro bono. They've done their volunteer work, and so we're going to give back to them and let them lead this nonprofit. So you talk about legitimacy, transparency. We've got it all. And one thing that's good about Jason, he likes being in front of the camera. So good on Jason, because we're going to live stream all of the progress. He'll be able to show people every day, once a week. He's going to do a podcast and say, hey, these are the updates. This is what we're working on. And once again, Yellowstone being the #1 TV show about a rancher trying to save his ranch. Well, guess what? We are the Yellowstone now, and we will make it that way. Wait till we get 5 to 10 ranchers that have opened up their gates and opened up media streams of how they're doing it, who they're teaching this next generation of children to be ranchers. It's going to be fascinating.
Real life Yellowstone.
Yep, 100%.
So Slim, let's talk a little bit about it's not really a separation, but we kind of have we're handing the beef initiative off to the ranchers.
Right.
And then iamtexasslim has emerged.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about that and the strategy behind that and what your intentions are there.
Well, from the beginning, a lot of the ranchers, they're basically generational ranchers. This is something that they live and breathe 24/7. The way I was raised, that's where I come from for sure. Animal production, land production, everything. But man, I can only take that so far. And, you can't have your ego when you're doing this. A lot of times I get accused of having the ego. Who the hell is going to say I am Texas Slim all the time? Well, they don't get what we're meaning here. And that's going to be fun about moving forward. But I knew that we had to give, and from day one, I said, we're going to give a great American rancher a voice again. Going to give him a voice that he's never had, from a digital voice to an in-person voice to a voice of product, voice of education. And for me to sit up here and say, I call all the shots, that's irresponsible. And so what we do is we have a collection, we have a foundation of ranchers that want and are a part of this. They are leading. They pioneered they took that chance on me. So we're taking a chance on them. And we're going to give over the curriculum, the content. How do they want to see themselves portrayed in the public's eye? So they get to have a say-so. They get to be producers, directors, they get to be content producers. They get to be basically anything that they come up with. We will be putting our resources as far as the beef initiative to let that rancher have the voice from that mountaintop that he or she wants to put themselves on. That's what's going to be so exciting about this, because by doing that, every rancher that I've talked about that has come through the beef initiative, we have over 110 now producers in the beef initiative platform. Every one of them now have access to have that voice and to help run the beef initiative. It will be a collective collaboration, basically, that is being driven by their daily life and what they see as pain points, but also, basically production models as far as protocols of how they steward the land, how they steward the beef. There's no competition within the beef initiative, and the producers that come in know this. All we ask is authenticity, transparency, and believe in what you're doing. We're not going to judge you on all these separate protocols that you get caught up with in the beef industry. We're going to uncover the vastness of the beef industry. The level of beef intelligence that the American producer and rancher is now going to be able to bring to the general public, I couldn't do that alone. We've got to let them do it collectively to where they know it's not a competition, but we're all in this together, because we have everything that we need at our fingertips in the United States right now. And by leading with the American rancher, we get to show the world that basically what you and I are going to be working on, is I call it the Great American Health Initiative, should always be ran by the Great American Rancher Producer. And that's what we're going to bring, that clarity to the subconscious and the conscious of the American public. And I think it's extremely important to hand the reins over to those producers and say, get busy, because they work their ass off. So let's get them to work, right?
Yeah, and let's give them the love and the support that they need to be the experts that they are. Let's defer to the experts. These guys are the subject, and gals are the subject matter experts.
Yeah. And that's what I've told everybody, because we deal in Bitcoin, which is sound money. Love it. The path of Bitcoin is going to be fascinating. But I always go up to everybody. I say, don't talk Bitcoin to these people. That's rude. What you got to do is go up and shake their hands and say, would you educate me? Would you tell me why you do it, how you do it, and what is the reason behind the hows and the whys and everything? Tell me everything. Educate me first. If you allow a rancher to educate you on why they do what they do and how they do it, you are gaining some of the most valuable food intelligence on the planet. That's what people are going to start figuring out, especially if it comes through the beef initiative, especially if they're part of the beef initiative. We're bringing integrity back to food. We're bringing truth in food, and we're going to make sure that people will not basically consume anymore unless they understand the truth of the food in their consumption model. And I talk about that all the time, your consumption model. Well, we're going to change people's consumption model from audio, video to food, and it's going to be led with truth in each one of those. And you have a rancher out there trying to deceive the general public, they get found out pretty fast. They don't last, because they can't. You have to have truth in food when you're a rancher. That's what's so beautiful about this.
Yeah, and I'm also, as a health professional, I'm looking forward to some of the product lines, which we won't get into the details about that. We'll just sort of plant that seed. Now we've got some exciting new products coming out through the Beef Initiative, and the sky's the limit. And this theme it's all about health this year. It's all about health. It's about reclaiming your health, reclaiming that consumption model. And I couldn't be more excited.
Well, I've been waiting and chomping on the bit, as one of our phrases that we use, chomping on that bit so hard that it's hard. It was in the beginning last year. Sometimes they don't see what I see, which I give people, a little leeway. But, when people understand, look at us as a nation, 88% of us is metabolically compromised, as you said earlier. Look what's going on here. We're living in the shadows of a food deception that is killing us, okay? Except that that's happening, folks. And what we do is we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. All we have to do is leverage the tools that we have. Well, one of those tools has always been there. We just haven't given them credit, respect, and we're now allowing them to be destroyed. The Great American Health Initiative will be led by the Great American Rancher. And it's as simple as that. It's not complicated. It's so simple, it's complicated to most people. When you shake a rancher's hand, you actually are improving your health in ways that you do not see yet. And that's where we have to develop that trust and that pipeline portal of understanding with the consumer, saying, lose all that crappy nutritional advice that you get on the influencers giving you, from all the way to, the veganism, the vegetarianism, the carnivores, all this crap that people get caught up in. Lose all the bullshit, man. What you have to do, let's get back to the source of the seed of how we got here. Pure animal protein. Start there. you will engineer your nutrition based on your personal education and guidance from people like you and me.
Amen.
Hell
I
yeah.
can't wait. I can't wait.
Well, I can't wait to unleash you on to everybody. I mean, I came in pretty good, but a lot of times I felt like a freaking LARPer talking to you. It's like, okay, I don't know shit about nutrition, and I thought I did. And that's what people need to kind of come to terms with, that we get trapped in the social media, algorithm of nutrition and, the carnivore movement, all that. It's not talking crap against any of that, but it goes way much deeper than that. And that's what you and I are going to bring.
I want to zoom out for a second. This is my intention and my goal for us as a community moving forward is, we talk about it all the time, but let's commit to it this year. We're going to live in the solution.
Yeah.
This isn't about defining. I mean, how much longer do we need to define the problem? The problem's the problem. It's there. We're aware. Now, how do we begin moving forward? That's what this thing is all about. It's what it's always been all about. So if you guys have any questions, or you're struggling, or you're suffering, and you feel kind of dumb for asking that question, as long as you're not harping on a problem and you're interested in getting the help you need and moving forward, submit it through our Substack. You can send an email to me, Shawn@beefinitiative.com. You can PM me on Twitter if you're following me on Twitter. We're here to help. And that's kind of the goal. We want to create momentum. We've already done that this past year. So let's pour some fuel on that fire and really show this world what we're made of, what we stand for, and what we're all about.
And and thank you for saying that, because I get everyday DMs, emails, all that stuff, and people, I've been doing this for 3 years. You've been doing this forever, a long time. You've been doing this. And what people don't understand from my viewpoint, people are really kind of, they're motivated to help out, as far as maybe the social media aspect or awareness. So it's amazing how much of the problem I get sent to me at all times, from the war on beef to, mRNA vaccinations for cows to, all the fear porn that basically is not healthy for most of the people out there. They don't realize that. The more that you become that marketing arm of the fear porn is the more that you're going to get trapped in a form of that is not a solution. You're staying stagnant in that basically propaganda, the deception. So I ask people, I tell everybody at these events, I say, quit validating the deceptions. Act like they don't exist. People, do you not realize you don't have enough time in the damn day to live in the solution? You're already running to stand still. So lose all the fear porn, lose all of what's the problem here. We know there's a problem, and we're going to be the solution. That's what the invitation to everybody. Become the solution. It's a cliche, right? Become the movie, become the solution. Whatever you need to frame it as, we'll do it. And we have now the proof of work. We have the market access. We have the product. We have the beef intelligence. We have every touch point that we had to build this year as we were reconnaissance, as we were surveying, as we were doing the discovery. We have now defined we are in full production mode. And like you said, we got some new products and services coming your way. I've had some fascinating talks with some ranchers, and you want to talk about being able to design product now when it comes around the cow. Well, we have market access, decentralized market access. We're going to be bringing a lot of different beef products and services basically to the general public. And I didn't think it was going to happen this fast, but we're here. And so that's what I've been doing the last 10 days. You and I haven't even talked that much, but what I've been doing out
on
there,
purpose.
I know. It was a good time because it allowed me to really look at, I'm going to tease a little bit. Okay. I'm going to do a little tease here.
Go for it.
I was having this talk with this rancher, and people figure out who it is. But anyways, I said, hey, let's talk about product design. So we're talking about, the branding of, I am Texas Slim, Texas Slim Cuts, Texas Slim Beef, whatever. But one of those is coming. But the rancher said, hey, you know what? I got a good idea. Why don't we have a box called the Shawn box? And I said, really? Okay. Well, no, listen to the rancher's philosophy behind it. The rancher's philosophy, because you have a purpose. Your dialogue, your purpose, and your mission in life is based on nutrition. Well, that rancher sees that, and that rancher actually, number one priority for him, nutrition. It's one of the first things he ever told me was about nutrition. So he saw you, he knows who you are. He goes, let's give Shawn a face. Let's give Shawn's customers, maybe. She's a life coach. Let's give them access to that nutrition in the way that she would like it to happen. Not the rancher, not the centralized, planning of cost effectiveness of sending an 18-pound box with these types of cuts, No, what's trending? No, what is it that Shawn would like to have her name on a box so she can send to the people and have her people actually have market access to that beef? That's where we're going with our beef products. So,
well, that sounds interesting, and I'd love to sit down and talk to this rancher, and I'd love a name to go with the mysterious rancher.
Well,
but we weren't fighting. That's not why we're not talking. I think it's really important to get still and
hell yes,
to step outside of the noise and reconnect to purpose. Yes, I am very purpose driven, and I'm very highly focused, and I protect my focus at all costs. It's one of our biggest superpowers if we're willing to harness it. And that's what we're here to do going into this year. And I mean it. If you guys are struggling with something, reach out. Obviously, certain issues are highly individualized, but there's some things that can be generalized. And I look forward to sitting down with you, Slim, and creating content around some of these pain points that we're seeing more and more frequently. And then products come out of that. I'm a big believer in creating products I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I'm a health nut and an entrepreneur at heart. I've been an entrepreneur since I was a little girl, since before I should have been an entrepreneur. And, the job of what I deem an ethical entrepreneur, and I think that's a really important thing to say, ethical entrepreneur, is to solve a problem, not to create a problem and then solve it, but to solve a real problem. And so based on what you're struggling with, we have this interesting opportunity to create those solutions in real time as they're coming in. You tell us what you need, and we will provide that solution to end that unnecessary suffering in your life. There's obviously some suffering in our lives that we need to endure. It's important. It helps us grow. But then there's that gnarly type of suffering that's just nothing but toxic poison. And we have the opportunity to begin eliminating a lot of the suffering. And there's a lot of unnecessary suffering going on in the world today.
Well, and you and I see it more than most people, right? I mean, we're front and center every day. That is our consciousness is seeing that pain and suffering, and seeing, the analysis paralysis that gets stuck into that suffering, that people they can't punch their way out of that wet paper bag because they're too tied down. They're mentally handcuffed. And what you said, I was kind of making fun that we haven't talked. Yeah, sometimes you need to take that pause. And the reason that we do that at this time of the year is it is a reflection. Is it time for reflection? Let's get geared up for about what we're about to do. Let's get refocused. Let's look and survey the land. Let's let everybody understand that there is a new horizon right now. And that's how I did it. This is what I've been doing as far as my mental mapping and everything. I'm out in West Texas right now looking out on a new horizon. I'm on a horse out there that nobody's ever seen before. They have not. I have a vision that nobody else has to. I have to take a step back. I need to get rid of all the noise, all the friction that has been created this year, because it was a fast and furious year. I mean, it just flew by. And what I have to do is get recentered. And that's what you're talking about. And you're very good at that. You are a mental warrior. You're very strategic. And whenever you say you're going to do something, you do it. And that's what's going to be fun working with you, because you know that I'm going to do the same. And I believe people were going to follow, kind of taking that lead. And they're going to get creative with your imaginations. Everybody put yourself up on that horizon with me. We have a new vision that a lot of people don't see just yet. Well, we're going to all lead into this together, and we're going to go conquer something that has not been conquered yet. We are creating a new beef industry within a beef industry. We are creating a whole new nutrition understanding in a basically a world and a global world of propaganda when it comes to what nutrition is. And so there's so many different aspects that each of us as individuals need to get ready to basically pioneer into this year. But it takes that reflection, and it takes that quiet moment. It takes that sacred promise to yourself saying, I'm going to do this. And I want everybody to say, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I believe in the beef initiative. I believe what their intent is. I'm going to lead with integrity, authenticity, trust, in a new form of value that I don't have in my life right now. It's right there. It's a new lifestyle. I talk about it all the time. It's here. So
Yeah. I'm gonna let you close this out, Slim, but before I do, what I want to say is, let's all commit to heading into 2023 when everybody around you is talking about how bad the economy is and how awful this is, and can you believe what this politician's doing? Let's commit to thriving no matter what. Let's take chaos and use it to make us stronger, because it's a choice. And I choose to thrive. Whatever life throws my way, watch out. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it to my benefit. And I hope each and every one of you decide to do that going into 2023. Cheers. I got some water here. Not champagne. That's tomorrow night.
There you go.
Cheers to you, my friend. I cannot wait. I've said it multiple times in this discussion alone, but I mean it. I can't wait. We are going to do amazing things going into this new year.
Well, and going back to the beginning of this recording, in December of 2021, I could not have hoped or to wished for somebody to come up side by side and to lead this, not only with you, of course, but every rancher producer that we have, every volunteer that has really sacrificed a lot this year. I mean, so much gratitude and thanks for everybody that helped us do all these micro summits. There's way too many people to think, but the amount of people that are contributing to the Beef Initiative and the amount of people that are going to come flooding in is going to be overwhelmingly kick ass. And so, much thanks and gratitude towards all of that. The type of relationships that you build within the Beef Initiative, I've lived a fantastic life. I've met some fascinating people, but I can honestly say this last year has been the best year of relationship building that I ever have. And I'm pretty good at building relationships, and I can pretty much, hone in on quality and value of a relationship. This year has been fascinating. So, but on that, we got to say, hey, we're podcasting 2.0, right? And we are decentralized. We're about sound money, sound health, sound communications for a sound future, definitely sound pure beef that comes from the Beef Initiative. But people stream us sats on podcasting 2.0, which is the Fountain app. You need to download the Fountain app. And I wanted to read this one to you, okay? This one's fantastic. Texas Slim, and he's talking about a podcast that we just did with Cole and Jason. He said, this was probably the best episode of your podcast so far. As a consumer, this episode cleared some questions I had. However, there are many unanswered questions that we, the beef consumer at all income levels need to know, not only about nutrient starvation, but also about the value, quality, and affordability to the week-to-week paycheck types. I would love to have you on my podcast and perhaps point me to the ranchers, producers who can explain, answer to these issues. Great podcasts. And that is from also known as TWS. So right there, this goes to show you that people are wanting to have a contribution. They're also wanting more information. So that's the type of collaboration that we need from everybody here watching this podcast. This is interactive. We're doing this together. This is open source, and it's based on value for value. That's what podcasting 2.0 is about. Somebody streaming you sats, somebody giving back, just like everybody that was the founding members of the Foundation for Jason's Grant there in Tennessee. You know, look at the ranchers, Ann and Weldon Warren. They gave, I think they auctioned off over $300 to $400 worth of beef. I mean, look what they gave back to Jason, his foundation, and you know, somebody bought their beef. That money goes into Jason's ranch now, so he can be an educator. Well, everybody's starting to do this. I mean, this podcasting with the Fountain app. Here's another one. Merry Christmas Slim from Gene Everett. He's always given. He gave 250,000 sats. We have another 33,000 from Gene Everett. We have Matthew 1,000 sats. We have TW Cattle. As always, I think that's Texas Cattle dude right there, but he 500 sats. Here's another one. This is a good one. Excited to be a member of TBI. Looking forward to a future of originally sourced TBI meat boxes for local consumers and shaking the hands of families we work so hard to provide them with the highest quality of foods. Keep fighting the good fight. God bless. TBI has me excited for the future of American meats. Boom, right there. Just everybody's out there. That was from Agrarian Contrarian.
I like that name.
The name. So Jim, it's perfect. And then we have Jim Seifert. Boost, move the sats around. These come in daily. People are giving back. That's what we're trying to get everybody to understand. It's a lifestyle of giving back. You do not receive unless you give first, people. Jason Rick of Rick Ranches, the first ever rancher to have a grant allotted in his name under the I Am Texas Slim Nonprofit Trust Foundation. Go to the website, beefinitiative.com, beefinitiative.com/donation. That's where you can donate to Jason this first year. It's going to be fascinating to watch him basically steward his land, steward his cattle, steward his education now that he has the backing of the American people. You guys want some product? We'll bring in some product. Big announcements coming next week as far as all the new beef that we're bringing. There's going to be a good story next week that we unfold. One thing you're going to get to hear next week is our journey to Australia. We build out locally, we broadcast globally. Got my tickets to Australia. We're leaving on the 5th of February. When we come home, nobody knows. But what we're going to do is the Australian folks, the Australian Beef Initiative is now its own entity in Australia. They've already got 2 major summits planned, got a 3rd micro summit planned, probably have 2 to 3 more. And they're going to take Beef Initiative up and down, whoever comes as far as the team members of the Beef Initiative. And we're going to go do micro summits in Australia. And we're going to bring all that information back to you guys here in the States. So there's a lot that's about to unfold. It's going to be a busy year. So everybody go out there and have a fantastic, safe New Year's. And remember, this is international lifestyle. It starts with you, and you have probably the best team that I could have ever have hoped for, as far as the great American ranchers that have come into and pioneered with the Beef Initiative, and people like you, Shawn, and all of our volunteers that help with the production and the facilitation of all of our content. So much love to everybody. Shawn, you ready to do this shit?
I've been ready. I was born ready. Let's go.
Well,
what are you waiting for?
Do this. I am Texas Slim. Are you?